We've talked about Flemish volunteers who served in the Flemish Legion of the Waffen-SS. But there were also French-speaking Belgian people, the Walloons. What about them? Well, they served initially in the Walloon Legion and later in the Waffen-SS. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Walloon Axis soldiers of the Second World War and the prominent collaborator. I'm talking about Léon Degrelle and his Rexist party. Keep watching. Hey, welcome back everybody. If you're new to this channel, a warm welcome to History Hustle. My name is Stefan, I'm a Dutch history teacher and I like to cover history in videos like this. And if you find it interesting, then consider subscribing. Also hit that notification bell, and if you want to support me, go to my Patreon and PayPal page. The story of Belgian collaboration in World War II is actually two stories, two cases, a Flemish case and a Walloon case. The Walloons are Francophone Belgians. They live in the south of the country. Anti-communism was strong among the Belgian elite, notably the church and the military. This was also fueled by the Spanish Civil War. Most noteworthy was the far-right Catholic nationalist political party Rex, or the Rexist Party. Created as a Catholic propaganda movement, its leader, Léon Degrelle, made it its own political party. At its peak, it had appealed to different Francophone conservatives, integrist Catholics, right-wing intellectuals, the military, and Belgian royalists. When the elections came in 1936, Léon Degrelle and his party gained 11.5% of the votes. However, Degrelle lost the later elections. By 1940, Rex became a marginal group. But then, in May 1940, the Germans invaded Belgium, and Belgian King Leopold III surrendered within 18 days. By that time, Degrelle was arrested, but he was released after the French armistice, June 1940. The Rexist Party began forming a militia known as the Formation de Combat, led by Fernand Rollo. It was similar to the German SA and had around 4,000 men in its ranks. January 1941, Degrelle had a speech, and he concluded that speech with a salute to Hitler. Now this attracted German attention, and when the Germans invaded the USSR June 1941, the Germans contacted the Rexist movement because they could help with setting up a Walloon Legion of Walloon volunteers who were willing to fight on the Eastern Front. Early July, Degrelle announced in a speech that thousands of volunteers had already come forward. Most of these had ideological motives, and a substantial amount came from the previous mentioned militia Formation de Combat. The first legionnaires are mainly young people who are driven by ideological motives. Their motivation is threefold: anti-Bolshevism, the naive belief that Belgium can be given a better negotiation position at the negotiation table on a redesigned Europe, or the establishment of a new order. This changed from mid-1942. The Legion will then mainly recruit into its ranks adventurers or people trying to escape starvation, forced employment, or general moral, family, and financial misery. Degrelle himself also volunteered, and he was offered the rank of lieutenant, but he refused. He wanted to start his military career as a private. As the years progressed, he rose through the ranks, and by 1944 he became the commander. The Walloon Legion was designated as Infantry Battalion 373 and part of the German Wehrmacht. On the 8th of August 1941, 860 left Brussels by train for training in Meseritz. Later that month, they swore an oath of allegiance to Hitler in the fight against Bolshevism. A former Belgian colonial officer was put in charge. Being part of the Wehrmacht, these Walloon volunteers wore Wehrmacht uniforms with a woven arm shield which showed the Belgian national colors: black, yellow, red. Early November, the Walloon Legion arrived at the Eastern Front in Dnipropetrovsk in Ukraine. They crossed the Dnieper River and marched further east. On the 1st of December, they experienced their first fatality: a captain who stepped on a mine. The weather soon got worse. The landscape was a quagmire once they arrived, now turned into an ice-cold snowscape. There was a lack of proper winter gear, and around 50 men were demobilized and repatriated. Mid-January, some 320 legionnaires out of 500 were left, and the next month only 150 were left. Because of the losses, additional recruitment was necessary. In May 1942, another 450 volunteers left, of which 337 would be deployed. When Fall Blau, the German 1942 summer offensive, took place, the Walloon Legion became part of Army Group A that had to march into the Caucasus. Operation Edelweiss. After exhausting marches, they reached Maikop mid-August. The Soviet oil fields were sabotaged before the Red Army retreated. They later saw combat at different villages and were finally flown out early 1943 because of the positions being threatened after the German loss at Stalingrad. Near the end of 1942, some 208 legionnaires were combat ready. A third recruit campaign led to the registering of around 1,500 volunteers. Despite the losses, the Legion's battlefront experience boosted its legitimacy. Himmler was now willing to declare the Walloons a Germanic race. And this marked the end of the Walloon Legion, as on the 1st of June 1943, the SS Assault Brigade Wallonia was formed. It had around 2,000 men and left on the 11th of November 1943 for the Ukrainian front. It was here that Leon de Grelle would have his so-called moment of glory, the Cherkasy breakout, mid-February 1944. After this, his face was on propaganda posters for European collaborators. Hitler personally awarded him the Knight's Cross later that month. By that time, the Legion had around 632 men left, and they were withdrawn from the front and held a triumphal reception in Belgium. De Grelle, he was now forbidden to return to the front, but he did anyway to join his comrades in Estonia. After the fall of Narva in August 1944, the Walloon Legion saw action near Tartu. They held their ground, but it came with a price. Only 32 men of the 260 were still standing. When later that year Belgium was liberated by the Western Allies, the unit was renamed to the 28th Division of the Waffen-SS, and de Grelle became full commander. He was able to bring about 4,000 men in his division. This, however, was a shadow of a division. It saw action in eastern Germany in the last months of the war. Fearing execution for treason in Belgium, de Grelle made his way to Denmark, then to Norway, and then he flew to Francoist Spain. He was sentenced to death in absentia, and he remained in Spain till his death in 1994. Survivors returned to Belgium, and they were offered re-education classes between 1946 and 1951. It was reported that by 1992 there were around 1,000 veterans still alive. I have no idea about the current numbers, the amounts of Walloon volunteers that are still alive today. Most of them were unrepentant and claimed they did not know about the mass murder of Jews. However, in the last month of the war, in the chaos, the Walloon men also participated in the murder of Jews. Thanks to my patrons, you see their names on the screen. Special thanks to Philip Jordan, Jacob Moslund, Nick Terranova, Haley Berry, Mark Littlehill, Janusz Jozinkiewicz, Johan, Justin Trebell, Tanya Dixie, Henry Clarkson, Rob Park, Andrea Martic, Susanna Di Bella, Fernando Lopez Ojeda, and Mike West. Give this video a like. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to learn about French volunteers on the Eastern Front, click right here. And have you ever heard of the Dutch Volunteer Legion? No? Click right here. Au revoir.